Welcome to another episode of The Intelligent Speculator, where our purpose is to provide insights into economic and market movements that have been successful in helping us grow our wealth. And now, let's hear from the hosts of our show, Jesse Sanders and Lathan Fritz.
Hey guys, I'm your co-host Jesse Sanders. Today on the show, Lathan and I dive into the topic of real estate. We've had a lot of questions and comments come in about the housing market. Are we heading for a big crash? If I'm looking to sell my house, should I do it now? Should I wait for a few years? What is it going to look like post-COVID-19? Well, let's jump right in as we're discussing that today. Lathan, how you doing today, sir?
Doing fantastic, Jess. What is going on, my man?
Man, all is well here. I was out on an early morning bike ride this morning talking with my brothers, and topic that's bounced around in our family is real estate. It seems like other markets, equity markets in particular, we've seen big sell-off, now a rise back almost to the previous high. But the real estate market has seemed relatively unfazed. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's several factors why we've kind of haven't seen a significant decline in real estate values yet. And I think there's kind of a two-prong approach to this. I think one is real estate's basically kind of a supply and demand asset. So the less supply there is, so the less sellers there are, more buyers, obviously it drives up the price. When there's more buyers and sellers, it decreases in value. And right now, kind of due to the pandemic, any kind of, there's been, forbearances on mortgage payments, so you can't get kicked out of your house and you get extended periods.
Hold up, forbearance, for those that aren't familiar with the loan terminology, break down forbearance.
Yeah, so effectively it gives a person a longer amount of time where basically you get to kick payments down the road. And so you're not going to get your house foreclosed on you right away. You kind of get more time to pay off your mortgage payments before it would get into the foreclosure, getting your house in foreclosure. And then the second thing that you have going for you is a lot of the courts are closed, right? And so any foreclosures that technically were supposed to take place haven't been. And so you have a limited, you don't have this any kind of significant supply of foreclosed homes or people defaulting on their mortgages that have to sell their homes. So right now, the supply is maintained the same. And it's kind of going into this thing because of our perceived booming economy. Housing was on the rise, and there was a limited supply of homes almost everywhere across the country. And on top of that, you had the Federal Reserve that implemented an emergency rate cut down to 0%. So you have phenomenal mortgage terms for buying a house and interest rates. So that actually kind of had a lot of people chomping at the bit, like, I can get 2 to 3% on a 30-year mortgage to go buy a home. Now's the time to do it, right? And so so
young couples, the first-time homeowners are saying, hey, this is an opportunity for me to go get financing that may never be available again. This is the time to act.
Exactly. So you have both kind of like the supply that is maintained the same because you don't have foreclosures going on, you don't have people selling their homes, you don't have people like necessarily moving out, and then you have this like kind of like very favorable buying terms for homes. And so when you kind of combine that together, the real estate market has maintained its stability, and I believe it will maintain its stability probably for the next over the summer for sure, and probably for the next 6 to 9 months. But when we start going into next summer, I think that's when you're going to kind of see a turn on the corner.
And I want to get into that. It's funny you mentioned that, though, because I was talking with my brother on this. He flips houses. That's kind of his full-time gig. And what he raised to point he raised to me is like, I monitor these auction sites, and the thing that's crazy is, at a site that typically would have 100 to 150 homes listed, I go there now and there may be 10, 12, handful of homes listed. So he's like, I'm seeing about 10% of the volume right now, during and post-pandemic. And my guess is it's the reasons you mentioned, those homes that would have been either foreclosed on, either they don't have the ability to do it, or the forbearance has kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit. So it's the homes that he's typically trying to buy on a bargain price and then put some work in and flip and sell. he doesn't have the ability to do it. So he's now having to look at the retail market or off-market homes, or just kind of sit in cash and wait for the kind of typical cycle to pick back up.
No, exactly. Yeah. So that goes, back straight to the point of, the supply is limited, right? The supply for homes is limited, and there's still a lot of demand to buy it. And
Nate, you mentioned that this thing may flip. Mm-hmm. What do you think will be the cause for if you said 6-9 months before I interjected on that? what are the reasons for the flip?
Well, I think it's because we've talked on this podcast multiple times about how I believe we kind of reached peak debt cycle. We're going into a severe economic contraction and a very significant deflationary time period over the next 2 to 3 years. And so I think what you're going to start seeing is, even though, yes, we have very favorable mortgage terms right now, you're going to start kind of towards the end of the year, start seeing all of these business bankruptcies occur. You're going to see foreclosures starting to come to the market. You're going to see forbearance, people who were able to, for the moment, kind of get extra relief time to pay, not be able to make those payments. And now you're going to start to see kind of like an inverse, where you're going to see a steady, where it's going to be harder to move properties. And as a result, with properties being harder to move, their prices are going to go down to try to get, stimulate more demand for people to buy it. And then on top of that, you have with this deflationary period, you also we're in a kind of a demographic challenge here in this country, where we have 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day. And I think this pandemic and the kind of pop of the bubble is going to accelerate some of those retirements, as people are looking to, elderly in the baby boomer generation are looking, not to work anymore. They're looking to downsize, and they're looking to save their money. So what are they going to do? Those huge houses and McMansions that they had, they're going to start selling those. If they had a second home, they're going to be looking to sell their main home and their second home, and then kind of downsize to a smaller home, and then use their reserve cash to kind of like save towards their retirement and the expenses that they're anticipating down the road. And so so they're kind of consolidating assets, trying to move to cash so that they do have some liquidity. And I guess the concern would be at that point, if all of those baby boomers are looking to sell, who are the new buyers? Well, that's the thing. Like, if you have the baby boomers who are selling, and you have, kind of like the younger generations who are looking to buy, the only problem is, kind of as we saw in the Great Recession of 2008 to 2009, a lot of the younger individuals were the ones who were either laid off or their salaries were cut significantly, to the point that, you have the baby boomers selling, but you have like the millennials and the younger generations who their demand for buying homes is going to be very, very limited, because you can't buy a home if you don't have a job or if you can't afford it.
For sure.
So now I call it kind of like the triple punch. We're going through we're going into a deflationary period as a result of being in the peak debt cycle. We have a demographic challenge of baby boomers who are starting to retire in mass every day, and they're looking to downsize from their bigger homes to smaller homes. So they're going to be selling. There's going to be a lot of sellers from the elder generation, and particularly if you have any kind of second home as well. So you're going to see a lot of pressure in places like, Florida and Arizona, New York, things like that. Southern California is going to really take a hit with these real estate prices. And then on top of that, you have your millennial generation, who is already was just starting to recover from the 08-09 recession. And they're like kind of looking, now's the time to buy homes. We're having kids. And then this happens. And so they're the first ones to kind of get the boot from the business. The first ones to get their jobs cut. And then also either that or reduce pay. And so they're not going to be able to fulfill necessarily the entire demand of all the selling that's going to come from the baby boomers. And so
and that's the point when you have kind of the inverse of what we're seeing right now. There's not foreclosures on the market right now, so there's more. My brother, case in point, him and other house flippers, there's more buyers right now than sellers, because the foreclosures aren't on the market. you foresee, 12 months down the road, as the baby boomers start selling, there's going to be more sellers than buyers, and therefore the sale price, if my parents' neighbors, the other guy across the street, if they all start selling, well, then those prices just kind of get lower and lower and lower until there's enough buyers to meet that demand, or meet that supply.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, next summer, or this summer, I think if you sold your home, you would probably get a very good price for it. I think if you're looking to, sell your home next year, there's a very good likelihood. I think it could be 10 to 20% less. And then a year later from that, you could be looking at another 10 to 20% cut. And then I think maybe around kind of like, 2023, 2024 is where you'd finally kind of see the what I'd call absolute bottom. And then you'll probably see, real estate prices muddle there for maybe a decade. Because again, you have this demographic problem of a lot of baby boomers retiring, consolidating, and you just don't have a huge demand from the millennial generation to buy those homes that are being sold. And so I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on real estate prices. And to kind of use a more modern historical example, I mean, look, we've used Japan as kind of like a prime example of going through a deflationary period with a demographic problem. There you have a very elderly population in Japan, not very many young people. We don't have as a severe demographic issue as Japan has, but their real estate value hasn't recovered since the late 80s, early 90s, and that's been 30 years. And so, I think when you adjust prices for inflation, it could be 20 to 30 years before we kind of see a full recovery from, like I said, the triple punch of this kind of significant economic contraction we're going through, to the baby boomers retiring en masse, liquidating their homes, to there's not enough demand from millennials and younger generations coming up to want to buy those homes. And you're just going to, it's kind of like in many ways, a really bad perfect storm for the housing market. Yeah.
And it's crazy thinking about that. Discouraging, despairing, whatever word you want to use there. It seems to me it's kind of like, well, if you really love the place you're in, everybody's got to you got to live, you got to have a home.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so if you're comfortable there and you want to hold on to it, hold on for a while. But if you're looking, thinking of maybe, moving in the next 3 to 5 years, might be beneficial to look at moving up that timeline. It sounds to me like you're saying it be short term next year, be looking to potentially get a pretty good sale price for it. Beyond that, you may be holding for a while, or you're just going to see that sale price kind of tick down and down and down. It may be a while before it climbs back up.
Yeah, I'd say if you're looking, if you're interested, and obviously, not financial advice or anything like that at all. But yeah, I mean, like if I was in the process of looking to move from my house in the next couple of years, I mean, this summer I feel like would be like a prime opportunity to kind of get top dollar for it. And then kind of like you're just, like I said, I think one would be at risk, trying to sell next year or the year after that, where it's like, I don't think we're going to see prices like this, for a significant period of time. And I think that's just kind of, like I said, with a combination of where we are in the economic cycle to even the demographic challenges that we face, that is going to put continued pressure on the real estate market, as opposed to where, if we had a very small retiring kind of baby boom generation, a very large millennial generation that could kind of like take over what was being sold and meet that demand, then we wouldn't have that big of an issue. But the problem is you have 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day trying to consolidate, and you don't have nearly as many of those individuals on the millennial generations or younger generations that can meet that demand, which therefore is going to.
Well, if all the baby boomers came out of World War II, if everybody went home and had a baby during COVID, maybe 20, 30 years from now, we may have a new generation coming up. Ready to buy some homes.
You could have the COVID-19 generation that is just kind of like the baby boomer generation that came out of World War II. Could be the COVID-19 that helps reignite the real estate market here. But, Unfortunately, again, that's a kind of a 30-year timeline from here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, true. Got to get them out of time for their
Got to get them out. Got to raise them. got to get them educated. Go get a job, and then be like, have a family, and be like, okay, now I'm ready for a house. But yeah, man.
Well, good stuff, man. I think that's all the time we have for today. Appreciate your time walking through all this with me.
No, always, Jess. Looking forward to our next talk.
Talk soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this interview with Lathan Fritz and Jesse Sanders. We hope to see you next time, and remember to like and follow The Intelligent Speculator on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where we are posting insightful nuggets of economic and market movements. And if you would like to get exclusive information, feel free to join the Intelligent Speculator Facebook group. Good day.